I am a big fan of Martin Thokchom, and Martin. I happened to arrive in Imphal a few years ago on an assignment when I was writing about. So I happened to arrive in Imphal. There are themes that connect this festival again and again. One of those is ways of belonging. But another thing that happens every year at this festival, in startling and interesting ways, the world comes here. Right, we are quite far. We are at one tip of the Indian Ocean and the Arabian Sea, and it seems like the rest of the world is quite far. Certainly, I mean, I was in Dibrugarh in Assam last week, and Dibrugarh is 1,000 kilometers closer to Vietnam than it is to Goa. It's quite far. That part of the world is quite far. So today we're going to be talking about Manipur, and Manipur seems quite distant. Last year, my friend Aku Chingammam of the amazing group Imphal Tokis was here, and he performed at the opening ceremony. And there was so much angst and so much kind of a concern. What is happening in Manipur? Manipur, this incredible valley. When I first went to Manipur and I met Martin, I arrived at the same time that to see his gorgeous little bookshop um, in Imphal, and a wonderful festival. And it seemed like it was a hopeful moment. I wrote about Manipur as a coming cultural capital of India. It was such a hopeful moment. And last year, we had so much despair about what is going on in Manipur, and Akhu sang, and it felt like we didn't know what was happening, but it would probably be resolved soon. In a country like India, at this moment, it would be solved soon. But yet, a year has gone by. This time, Martin has come from Imphal, and we don't know what is happening in Manipur. But what we do know here in Goa over the last year, I've been seeing some troubling things, some troubling reminders of Manipur, some things I haven't yet spoken to you about, Martin. One of the things is a very large percentage of the young casino employees here now are from Manipur, and that is something that is new. This was not the case. These are jobs which they are paid jobs, but they are not jobs necessarily that they are jobs which involve different kinds of exploitation, and there are very large number of young Manipuris here who are in those jobs, which involve a kind of exploitation. It's a sign that things are really not what maybe that we understand over there. And then today, when I was sitting outside and ushering in students aggressively as I do, I found that there are 8 students from Manipur who are here in Goa, and they are here with us. Could you mind standing up for a second, ladies? Thank you. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Martin is someone you should be very proud of. And it reminded me, I was shocked. And they're here, and because of, obviously, it's not terribly safe in Manipur, because school is not that easy to attend. College is not that easy to attend. Goa has offered a kind of refuge at this time. And so I was reminded of the first time I went to Kashmir. When I went to Srinagar about 15 years ago, a little bit led by a book that was launched here by Ranjit Hoskote, Lalded. Please join us up here, gentlemen. When I went to Kashmir, I was shocked. In Kashmir, there are many places you cannot go. There are signs which say, outsiders, not exactly outsiders, but non-worship. Yet, in Kashmir, wherever I went, I was welcomed into every room, every house, even the mosques where non-Muslims are not supposed to go. I was welcomed everywhere. Why? Because I said I was from Goa. And it turned out, at the time of the Troubles, this is something of relevance to you, ladies from Manipur, is that at the time of the Troubles in Kashmir, half a generation of young Kashmiris came and they went to school here in Goa. So when I went there, one person, I was slowly paddling a canoe across the Nagin Lake, and one guy, when he heard I was from Goa, came out on his own canoe. You can't be from Goa. You can't be from Goa. Started to speak to me in Konkani. I mean, it's just an amazing experience. And so I thought those things were in the past. But not only are they not, but they are repeating themselves. And so today, we're very, very lucky to have Martin Thokchom with us. Martin runs a wonderful bookshop. And welcome, Martin. Big hand for Martin Thokchom. And we have Leonard Fernandes with us. Leonard Fernandes is, of course, a stalwart. He runs both the Dog Ears Bookshop as well as Cinnamon Next Publishing, and he He is a kind of a backbone of the independent book movement in Goa. We're very proud of him, and I'm so glad. I hope we will learn a lot more about Martin, both about his bookshop as well as about the times in Manipur. This is a very rare opportunity for us to hear from someone who's directly come from Imphal. Welcome.
Thank you, Vivek. Thank you, everybody who's come here. If you have been following the news recently, you've probably heard of this bookshop called the Educational Bookshop that was raided about 4 or 5 days back in Palestine. And They were a bookshop that were there for a long time, and then suddenly the authorities thought they were, quote unquote, inciting disturbance in the area. There are other instances like this where bookshops have been targeted. And there is this famous book called A Bookshop in Algiers, if you are interested in historical fiction, that you should read about this bookshop. Okay. About this bookshop in Algiers, which was also targeted. Now, and we see that bookshops on their own seem like innocuous, harmless spaces where you can just go browse, but in themselves, everybody understands their cultural significance. Yeah. Today we are going to talk about a bookshop and a bookseller, who, as we all know, is situated in an area that has been torn with strife for more than a year now. Just when you think things will simmer down, they again seem to erupt. And what we are trying to understand here is, what does it mean to be a bookseller in a place like this? What does it mean to be a bookshop in a place like this? And while we haven't quite experienced censorship and clamped down on this bookshop in particular, and we hope we never will have to hear about that, nonetheless, we can understand that in an area where there is an othering, where there is a conflict of narratives, where there is not quite agreement on who needs to exist and who doesn't. We have gone to that point now. We have this bookshop which allows this expression of ideas and counter ideas. Yeah, and so I welcome Martin. So the format that we are following, because Martin has a lot of show and tell, is that in response to questions, there will be some pictures also that he will want to walk us through. And so, Martin, my first question to you is, what does it mean to have a bookshop in a place like Imphal? What does it mean to be a bookseller in a place like Imphal? What has it allowed you to do? What has it not allowed you to do? And generally, I want you to give a sense of what's happening there, and how are you situated in that place.
First of all, I would like to thank everyone here, Vivek, and everyone who really wanted to hear me speak, a bookseller speak, which is quite rare. Yeah, and I'm really happy to be here back in Panjim, Goa. So, in order to know my story, I guess I would like to share my history as well. So, I stayed in Delhi for around 8 years. I did my BA English Literature and then Masters there. So, there was this whole exposure to many bookshops there, good bookshops, and then second-hand ones in Daryaganj and all. So, I had that when I was there. And then when I come back home for holidays, there was this lack of bookstores, and there was this void that I wanted to fill. But I didn't know that I would start a bookshop soon. I was about to teach there at DU as an ad hoc teacher, obviously. So, but they stopped hiring for 6 months because of some protests going on. So I had to come back home, and I had to do something, because I did not want to just stay there. So I thought of doing pop-ups during Sundays or any holidays. So that's how it started. And then when I thought of it, running a bookstore in a by renting a place was more. I mean, the that option was so much good because for pop-ups and all, I had to find a place for my books and all. So that's how I started. And then this was my bookstore when I started. And after some time, I expanded. Like after 3 years, picture B. Yeah. So this was after I expanded. So everything happened so fast for me. And then everything happened so fast. And when I first started out, the books that I chose were only the books that I read or I was familiar with. But uh, but after some time, my bookstore starts having a taste of my people community. People write down books that they want me to keep, and that's how I started picking the titles. And after some time, COVID came, which was obviously hard for everyone, every business enterprises. But we survived the pandemic also. And after that, the conflict came. So I mean, after 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 the hardships that I faced as a bookseller, and then as someone who survived the pandemic, I didn't know that the conflict would affect me so much, and it has affected me so much. So when I started out, if someone told me that where will you be in 5 years, I would say I'll be owning a big bookshop with many writers signing the books and all. But after 5 years, it was during 2023. I started in 2018. So in 5 years, my bookstore got even worse. So if I may, I would like to share a poem that I wrote during the fifth anniversary. Yeah, that was the condition of myself during that time. So even running for 5 years a bookstore, my sales were getting thinner, the books were less. So I wrote a poem. So this is my way of storytelling. Like I share poems and then small stories on my Instagram, on my bookstore space, so that people will know about me and my bookstore, the journey. So the poem is called In Silence. Just when we thought we survived a pandemic, just as we were aiming for new heights, they say book selling is tough and mama warned words. And here we are after 5 years, bruised more than ever. Of missed payments and deserted spaces and closed shops, once a nightmare, now a reality. People are dying everywhere, but I at least have a bookshop. Things I say to myself to live past another day. A month ago, Ukyo Bookstore completed 5 years in silence. So I wrote that. So coming back to your question, to have a bookstore in Imphal is really tough. That's what I want to say.
No, no, I understand the tough part, but especially in what has uh, what has it meant to have a bookshop in a place like this? Meaning, in terms of people coming to you and saying, I wish I could read more of this, or I wish I could have a discussion on this. Given that you have a space and given that you can curate that space, what has it allowed you to do and what has it not allowed you to do?
So, if we think about the name Ukiyo, it's pronounced as Yukio in Japanese. We started calling it Ukiyo, so it goes by the name Ukiyo. So it's a Japanese word I come across through an article, and it means escape from life's sufferings. So which is quite relevant now because my bookstore has been a space that people can come and feel safe. And after the conflict, I started this series called Rebuilding Through Words, where I asked writers to come and talk about their books and talk about their uh, uh, journey of writing to people so that people would be inspired, people will read more. These are some things that I can do in a bookshop while in a conflict. And other than that, I can also choose to select books that I want to keep and choose books that I do not want to keep that might hurt the conflict even more. So these are some things that I can do in a bookshop. like mine.
So while we are on this topic, and you talked about publishers and authors, give us a sense of the uh, publishing industry in Manipur. What does it mean? And meaning, most like for example, the Goan publishing industry is quite nascent. We don't have books on many topics, on many subjects. We could there is a market, we think, for much more. Also, like Goa, probably you are a multilingual society, so there too we have there is scope for words and ideas to come out. Yeah, are you a multilingual bookshop? Yeah. So give us a sense of where the publishing industry is headed. How has it responded to the conflict, or how was it even before that, and where do you see it going?
So in our place, we don't have big publishers. We only have self-publishing team. Like for example, if you have a book, you just go to the press and print it, and that's how you publish a book. It's all self-published. We don't have any publishers that will help you with editing or translation or anything. So there's that. And me as a bookseller is doing a lot when it comes to that. I help people find someone to edit their works, or maybe even to translate, because we have a community of readers and writers and publishers also. So, and even I have helped out a lot of people when it comes to publishing outside our state also. And then when we talk about our script language, Manipuri, so we are in the crossroads for now, because we used to write in Bengali script. That's how we learn during our school days. But the new generation, they have started learning our own script, Maitai Meg, we call it. So this is Maitai Meg. For those who are not aware, this is Maitai Meg. It says Ukiyo. This is the script that we have. So younger generations are learning this script, and we used to study our language in Bengali script, which is quite rare. Which is, so we have two generations that can read Bengali script and that can read our script, Maitai Mayek. So we are in the crossroads. If you have to publish a book in our language, Manipuri, then we have to print it in both the scripts for the older generations to read and for the younger generations to read. So it's quite hard now, but we are doing our best to, uh, to sell the books in two forms, and it's getting a toll on us, but definitely it's something that we are working on.
Can you hear me? It could be me. Yeah, no, it's fine. So on this topic of books and readers, uh, I just got back from the World Book Fair, and it completely flies in the face of the prevalent knowledge that people are not reading. Yeah, because the crowds, every stall almost is crowded, full of people. You also have a Yukio Literature Festival. I'm assuming there is a book sales happening there also. Give us a sense of where you think this refrain that people don't read, and what is it that drives this sentiment, and what are your thoughts on that?
It's a one. So to celebrate 1 year of my bookshop, it was 2000. After I started my bookstore in 2018. In 19, we did a festival, Ukyo Lit Fest. I think this must be the only festival that you have heard of, which we did by funding through our politicians and then crowdfunding. So we had to beg the politicians and the big brands in our place for the funds to organize this, and it went really well. So that's how I met many of the authors here also. So what we get from this festival is that many publishers who thought that Imphal is not the right place to go changed their minds. They were really happy that a place like Imphal can host such event. Then they also have the potential to sell books. I mean, publishers don't care. They just care if the books are going to be sold. I'll be very frank. So publishers, after my festival, every publisher mailed me saying that they want to keep their books on my store. So that quite helped me a lot. And then regarding writers, so in this platform we brought many writers from our place also, many young writers, many authors who just started to write. So giving them this feel of signing their own books and making them feel like big stars, celebrities. So that's what I feel every writer should feel. So I kind of make them dream big by starting this festival. But unfortunately, after this pandemic came and then conflict came, so I could not restart the festival. But hopefully, I'm planning to do it very soon again.
What about the readership in
So, readership wise, we before I start my bookstore, there were no proper bookstores that I already said. But the thing is that they only read books that they have heard of or they can find or someone recommend. But after I started the bookstore, many other bookstores also came up because this whole idea of going to a bookstore and browsing the books and seeing, discovering new books, that's quite new to our place. But after I started, there were other bookstores coming up, and then people started to read again. I mean, they might have also read, but they don't have the experiences. Not all people can go outside our state also. They are confined in our place. So they have this whole experience of reading books by discovering new ones. So I guess in that way, the result, the yeah, the change has come.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the problem of reading is not one of habit, but one of accessibility, right? You're not the so-called e-commerce web-based way of selling books does not quite introduce you to books the way a bookshop does, right? Meaning that you can see it, you can feel it, you can see if that's a right book for you. Um, and just coming back to that point of other bookshops opening. In fact, I mean, for us, Northeast is it's a humongous one place. But all around the Northeast, there are many new bookshops coming, right? I know of in Dimapur and Mizoram, and you hear them on social media and all. What do you think is this sudden? Because everywhere we are talking about, bookshops are dying. That's another refrain, which is quite, which is not backed by statistics at all. But what do you think is happening here? What is meaning? It's not like people are suddenly learning to read, but suddenly there's an interest in bookshops, and people are seeing the commercial viability of them probably too. So, what do you think is happening?
Yeah. So after I started my bookstore, things began to change. That I'll be very frank, because before that there were no bookstores even in Assam and all. I mean, they have bookstores, but they sell academic books also. But to purely focus on fiction, non-fiction, and all the what we call art books. So uh, when I started out, so I got support from the whole region, I guess, Northeast. So people through Instagram, they ordered me books from Shillong, from Arunachal, everywhere, and things have changed a lot since then. When I started out, transportation was such a hindrance to me because in stores in Delhi or Kolkata and all, they can get the books in a day or two. But for a place like Imphal, I'm not sure about other places, but for Imphal, it takes around 20 days to reach. If we have landslides and all, it takes more than a month. So getting books was also very hard. See, because the distributor of our region is in Kolkata. We don't have anywhere in Guwahati or anywhere. But things are starting to change because there are so many bookstores coming up. So they are planning to get big distributors in Assam also, which will be really helpful for me because it takes around 5 to 6 days from from there. So transportation wise, it has changed, and then readership wise also. Like when we talk about good bookstores, we only talk about bookstores in Delhi and all. But these days, people are starting to have conversations about bookstores in our region. Like, for example, the White Owl, which is doing quite, yeah, nice thing, a good thing by doing festivals and all. So yeah, there has been a change.
Open it up for questions at any time now, if you all have anything. But we'll just move to the slides if you want to complete your narration. And then I have a few more questions, and then we can open it to the audience.
So, if I may, I would like to share another poem because this is my opportunity. Yeah, yeah. So this is a poem I wrote 2 months back when the air was really bad in Delhi. Yeah, in Delhi. The poem is called Sets of Blue. Today, a friend from Delhi called complaining about the bad air and how the skies had turned gray. Intrigued, I immediately walked outside to the street and looked at Imphal sky. It was bluer than all the blues. How fortunate you are, my friend sighed. I could not utter another word to tell him that the street was also blue.
Going forward, um, because it seems like there's a weight on your shoulders also, in the sense that there is this not legacy, but there is this responsibility you have to continue the safe space, this probably another edition of the Lit Fest, uh, making literature available to a people that wants to consume it. Yeah, it's not an easy burden to bear. uh, I want to know, what are your plans for this bookshop, um, in terms of a grander vision for a bookshop. uh, what are you planning to do? um, you know I was telling you this, Tarun Bharti, who passed away recently, he called me and he said, long time back, about a year back, he said, "Can you help me set up a bookshop in Shillong? Because Shillong doesn't have a bookshop." And I'm assuming that's the case in many cities in the Northeast. It's not like Goa has many bookshops. We have 4 or 5, and we have people from the like places like Sawade and Sange, which is not very far actually from here, come and say, "I wish we had a bookshop." You know, so the commercial viability of it notwithstanding, there is, and in his book, In Praise of Bookstores, have you read that? Jeff Deutsch, he's one of the trustees of the Seminary Co-op bookstore in Chicago. He says that bookshops don't conform to a capitalist model where you get revenues, you get expenditures, and the two should meet. There has to be something else that funnels it, that fuels it, and it, like something like like how he suggests, like how how healthcare and transport is publicly funded. Maybe bookshops should also be do that, because it it allows an expression of ideas that no other space allows. Yeah. And so I want to ask you, where do you see bookshops in your part of the country, in your state, particularly given that the conflagration happens so fast, and due to an asymmetry of ideas primarily, and even in the whole of the Northeast, or even in the whole of India for that matter. What do you see the role of bookshops, and what do you see the role of ukiyo within that context?
I prepared. Anyway, so when oh next picture 10. This one, yeah, with history. It was one of the book launches. So when the conflict started, we did this rebuilding through words thing, and it went really well. So yeah, this is one of the sessions. So uh, after after uh, after 2023, May 2023, that the conflict broke out. So my business had gone really bad. It still is bad, but one thing that has make me awake at night is the fact that my bookstore cannot be a safe space for everyone. That's something that I feel really sad about. So, if you all know, we used to have many communities in Imphal, but one of them has already gone, whether we like to hear it or not. But one of the communities has gone, so that also affects us, ourselves, not just sales, but uh, the thing, but the safe space that we boasted about, it's not there. So that kind of affects us a lot. So in some years, I hope it will come back to the safe space that we want. So when we do such kind of rebuilding through words, we talk about that also. We forget that there is a conflict outside the walls, beyond the walls. We feel that we are like happy, like so people are there talking about their experiences with friends who used to be from who is from the other community. So such stories build hopes that everything will be all right soon. And if we talk about the future, then I also want to continue doing things that I love, to maintain a safe space, and then to make everybody feel like we are the same inside my bookshop. And hopefully it will also transfer to the places outside the walls. Yeah.
Any questions from anybody? Yeah, Mario. Is a mic being fast? No, no, no. Wait. You'll need it. She'll give you.
You know, I've been listening to you and to Leo. First of all, I have such great admiration for you, for your spirit, your tenacity, your perseverance, and this positive attitude that you seem to have in the middle of so many things coming against you, adversities. It must be very tough, building a bookstore from nothing and then going through the years of the pandemic. So I have nothing but tremendous admiration for you. Okay. The question now is, you read out a couple of your poems. I think you like writing poetry. I don't know whether you write fiction, short stories. Have you ever thought, do you have a collection of poems? Have you thought of, besides being a bookseller, being a poet, having your own books, or being a writer?
Actually, I have. The thing is that not about poetry, but a story about a biography, what is it, memoir. See, most of you might not be aware, but I wrote a story on Scroll, which went really well because it was a story of hope when the conflict started. It was a story about friendship. So I'll just like to just show you another picture. Sorry for that.
That's right.
Yeah, 11 and 12. Please start with 11. So besides book selling, I think storytelling is also a part of my journey because I like to share stories. So that is a picture of my staff waiting for his friend from the other community who is being transported back to his district. His friend used to study in Imphal in a hostel. He used to stay in a hostel, but he had to be escorted back because conflict broke out and he was not safe. So that was my staff waiting to wave to his friend. Next, please. No. Picture number 12, please. Yeah. So this is the picture. So he was saying goodbye to his friend as if everything will be all right soon. So I wrote a story on that, and Mr. Fernandez he shared it on Scroll. So the thing is that I have many stories such as this that I want to someday publish as a book. Thank you.
Thank you. Looking forward to reading your book.
Hello, Martin sir. Hello, Leonard sir. You all highlighted censorship which was a key idea. And the last time I was in Dog Years when I was purchasing the new Booker Prize winner, we had there was a sparkling conversation regarding censorship of a particular author known as Salman Rushdie, and how there was a big bureaucratic blunder that took place, which somehow let Satanic Verses hit the Indian bookstores. So, what is your opinion on that? I would like to know.
So regarding censorship, uh, okay. So even I have faced a lot when it comes to my bookstore also. When the conflict started out, people were not that intolerant, but these days, some people, they want the books on the other community, like their movements of a different state, to be not kept in my bookshelf, and I'm being forced to do that also. It's something that I don't want to do, but I still have to do because I'm part of my community. And even if we say we cannot censor anything, this is a safe space, I cannot do that. Sometimes when I don't have any choice, I am doing it, which I'm regretting. But in many years, I hope I can tell you the real stories about it also. So censorship, yes, it is an big issue to me as a bookseller also. Thank you.
Yeah, booksellers are for all the time self-censoring, meaning you have to face that fact, because at the end of the day, he has to see that his shop remains for another day, right? Is he proud of it? I'm guessing not, but it's happening. Just one small thing I'll tell you. Soon after this book was published about Gauri Lankesh's thoughts, I think Chandan Gowda had edited it. Somebody came and saw that book on my shelf and said, "Oh, Gauri Lankesh's book." He just said that much. He went back on Facebook and said, "This bookshop sells anti-national books." Anti-national was the buzzword in those days. I don't know if you guys remember. And it's not that I have a choice to respond to that, okay? But that word can ignite certain feelings in certain people, and the consequences of which we all know, right? That book is still on my shelf. I told my friends, "What do I do now?" They say, "Don't worry, we'll bury that with our remarks." So it got buried. But the matter of the fact remains that at the end of the day, he's responsible and he will have to fend for himself. Nobody is going to wave placards in front of his shop and say, uh, this guy defended freedom of speech, so let him be there. It's not going to happen. Everybody is worried about his or her own life. So it's happening. Let's not put this under the carpet and say, we are a great space. It's happening. And it's not something most of.
Yeah, hi, Martin. My name is Rahul Chandavarkar. I'm a journalist, and my wife and I were in Manipur. We did a 10-day tour, exactly about 45 days before the conflict in 2023. So when we toured Manipur, very happy to see the youth and so much normalcy. I'm talking about 45 days before the conflict, especially Imphal, where young people were working in cafeterias and restaurants. What is the situation on the ground now in Imphal, and how before you think some kind of normalcy will come back to 2023 March status?
Yeah, so yesterday when everyone was celebrating PR, we got the gift of PR, President's Rule. So yeah, since we do not have a solution right now, although we like to think that things have improved a lot, and it is already improved now, but since there is no political solution for now, anything can happen anytime. So we are prepared for that. So yeah.
Hello. Hi, Martin. We've known each other for quite some time, and I want to mention to the people out here is that you always have this really personalized touch with whatever you sell, whether it's book, coffee, or anything. and always loved the kind of personalized notes that you send on the bookmarks, and really commendable, and I have always loved that. My question to actually both of you would be that you've mentioned about bookshops, like, blossoming around the entire country or Northeast in particular. What is the sort of collaboration that happens between bookshops around the country, and what kind of precautions or maybe you take to defend to keep your interest safe from the competition that comes online from, the one who has, we won't take names, but like you know what I'm talking about. But I'd like to know a little bit more about that. Thanks.
I have another picture for this. Okay, so I'm going to tell you about the story of how I met Mr. Fernandes, Leonard Fernandes. So I would like you to start with picture four, yeah. So Leonard and me, before I started a bookstore, where I started maintaining an Instagram page before I started the bookstore. So Fernandez and me, we had already started chatting through Instagram. We were talking about books. Yeah, this was me during 2019 when I visited his bookshop. And the next slide, please. So we go a long way back. So five. Yeah. So there was me and yeah, this one, no? Yeah, 2019. Yeah. So we have a community of booksellers that we don't talk about. So we have been having this book sharing also. Like for example, if I don't have a book, I will just ask him and he will send me, which we have done twice now. Yeah. So that is the kind of community that we have, and apart from the big ones, the small ones, we are really very easy to connect. I mean, he can just text me and I will answer right away, and we'll talk about books, we'll talk about book selling, we'll talk about hardships. So that's a community that we have maintained.
Yeah, we have a semi-formal body called the Independent Booksellers Association of India. But besides that, what we do is this: we don't let the customer go away. We call the book, so like it's a distribution service basically. We are not even bothered about the online scene because we know what value we can offer. We are not fighting them on price. We fight them on price, and yet price is the only thing they have to offer. Yeah. So in terms of space, in terms of discussions, in terms of getting books, like sitting in Goa, I have a full shelf on books on Northeast India, many of which I have sourced from him, many of which I have sourced from Readers Book Club in Aizol, I think it is. It's in Imphal. Yeah, so we know what we are playing with. We know what our limitations are. And within that framework, we try to give the best to at any given point of time, somebody entering the bookshop might not get the book they want because we can't obviously have all the books. But what we try to make that up with good books to choose from, good service, things like that.
I want to go back to what you said about censorship. In many parts of the world, Mein Kampf is banned. In India, it's widely available. And yet Hitler is often a sort of misrepresented. He's seen as a figure who brought discipline to the German people. Do you all stock Mein Kampf, the both of you all? And have you had a debate in your head about whether you're censoring work by not stocking it?
Naresh, this both siding has come up in publishing also. I don't know if you know, Arpita highlighted it, that somebody, and so I can always say my ship, my orders, but what I, and Martin can also answer this, my curation thing is that I need to challenge my reader, and I will do so with the books that I know about. Yeah, so I don't keep Mein Kampf, but I've heard about it on podcasts. And it's a rambling thing I've heard. So it's not a book I would have kept anyway, you know. And I'm willing to bet that half of the people who buy that book haven't read it because it wouldn't have made sense to them beyond page 1 or 2. So yeah, we have this strong man cult right now. So I'm suspecting that that's the case, but I'm not willing to both side right now. So you may fault me for that, but I think they have their platforms and we have ours, so it evens out, I guess.
Yeah, I keep it. So the thing is that in a place like ours, like we don't have many readers. So if it takes mankind for you to start reading a book, then because it's a popular book, people always keep asking for the title. So I keep it. So yes.
I have a question for Mr. Martin and Mr. Fernandez. First, for Mr. Martin, you spoke about safe spaces and bookstores being safe spaces. I kind of connected to that idea a lot because it's a pre-reflective feeling that I feel a sense of belonging in a bookstore. That if I want to escape somewhere, I immediately go to a bookstore. Could you say more on what you meant by your bookstore not being safe for people from certain community, and how do you go about? I basically want to understand this idea of a danger and safeness that can come with the bookstore. Yeah.
It's not just about my bookstore, but the place where my bookstore is there. So for a community, it's not safe to be in my place, and it's for safe. It's not safe for us also to go to their community's place in other districts. So that is what I mean by saying my bookstore is not a safe place anymore, because it used to host so many writers from their community, also so many customers, and in a way we cannot do that right now. So that other than that, our space is open to all gender, all ethnicities and all. But now I'm so helpless that one community cannot enter my bookstore or my place. So yeah.
Thank you. And for Mr. Fernandez, you spoke about public funding of bookstores. The question is, if does it make a bookstore a public funded library? Like a public funded bookstore, does it become a library, or is it not a necessary
No,
connection?
we don't know what that model is yet. We don't know how it. But what that author was trying to say, and you should read that book if you are interested in the concept and the idea behind bookstores. It's called In Praise of Bookstores by Jeff Deutsch. So we don't know how that will pan out. But what the author is trying to say is that if we only dwell on the capitalist model, that this book will sell, so I will stock this book, then you're leaving out a whole other of books and ideas that ought to make it to a bookshop, might not be commercially viable. Yeah.
We do have publishers like Yogesh Maitreya, like
Yeah.
for whom you.
Yeah, there are many. There are many in India also, and it's just not. It could be a Penguin book also that doesn't immediately hit you, as you know. So that's one reason why we, for instance, don't pander to the bestseller list, because the bestseller list is a self-serving list. So because it's a bestseller, you're buying another copy. It continues to be a bestseller. But there are books outside that. What happens to the 21st book? Is it not worth reading? So that's another reason why bookshops should be there, because you get to see these other books side by side with the ones you want. Yeah. So of course there will be curation, because the entire universe of books can't fit in there. But at least what can be brought needs to be out there so that people can read them.
Thank you.
Just to expand on that a little bit, Leonard, it's something I hadn't considered. Just a very interesting point that if you're not overly conscious or ruled by bestseller lists, like what happens to the 21st book, that raises a question for me at least. What about self-published? Or, you know, there's been a huge wave of self-publishing recently and over the last several years. And how do you identify those books? How do you sort of identify books that you may want to carry from a very small independent press or someone that's self-published? How do you find those?
So Lee's, in our case, so you might know or not know this, we practically introduced self-publishing into India with Cinnamon Tea. It was the first commercial self-publishing service in India. But you might agree with me, there are self-publishing services that have spoiled self-publishing for everybody. Yeah, I know of I know of authors who come to me with badly edited books and badly presented books. So, the book is on copier paper, it's stapled together. The cover GSM is as thin as the inner paper, right? I've also, the reader is also my stakeholder. I also have a responsibility to provide a good book to my reader. And if the cover is good, but the text is badly edited, or it's, I am doing a disservice to my reader also. So in case of self-published books, what we do at least is we ask for a review copy before we agree to have the book. Yeah, because we cannot paint that also with the same brush. We cannot say all self-published books are bad. But it is a fact that authors have been told, you know what, you don't need editing. You know what, you don't need to be careful about how the text is presented. And so the author has agreed to that. And really bad books have come out. We don't take a call on the plot and on the narrative. But at least on these two things we do.
So, firstly, I would like to say that your determination is very inspiring, and the work you've been continuing is really motivating.
There is a way you can help bookshops like him. He's available on Instagram. He's available, you have a website also. He's available on Instagram. Buy your books from them. Buy your books from bookshops. Take that extra trouble. He will curate something for you and give you. Just say, I want a good selection of books on the Northeast. This is something you can do to help independent bookshops. Do it. There are quite a few of you here who buy books from me when you don't have to, when you can go online and buy. And I appreciate that because that helps us survive another day. And I think you should also think about doing that. Sorry, Karin.
So, basically, I'd like to ask what is the state of libraries in Northeast? Because libraries are the first introduction to a reader. I know that personally for me, it was my dad's collection of books and also my school library. So to encourage the youth, you need to have a good library system. So how is that in the Northeast and particularly in Imphal and Manipur?
So I would like to share about that. In my place, unfortunately, when I was around 10, 20 years back, I'm 34 now. So uh, uh, when we had a lot of agitations, protests, and we had PR back then also. So there were so many issues. I mean, the whole place was conflicted at the time, and then libraries were burned. Can you believe? One, I think it must be the oldest, and it got burned. One of the oldest. It got burned, and most of our state archives and all they got lost. And after that, we rebuilt one. But in our place, libraries are not that like how they are in Delhi or anywhere or maybe even here. Because libraries are places where you go to study for I mean exams, civil service exams and all now for now. But schools are started to bring good ones, like making good books available by buying from our shops also or maybe online. But yeah, things are starting to change. But for the public funded ones, the state ones, they are not that good. It has become worse.
session. On behalf of Goa Writers, I say thank you to you, Martin and Leonard. Thank you very much.
I would like to end with another picture, if I can. Just one picture, please. And this is for you to ponder. Okay. Picture number 21. Picture number 20 first, please. Picture number 20. This was when the ex-chief minister, I should say, because he resigned, he came to my bookshop, and he was very popular back then. People said that you should say about it, that chief minister came to your store, but I didn't, because I can. And then I may have put a quote just right next to him. I may have, or I may not have. Picture number 21, please. So these are some things that you can do as a bookseller. I'm going to end with that. So please see the picture and please see the quote. Yeah. Thank you very much, guys, for hosting.